Warning, warning, excessive glaze about to be initiated. Warning. What's up, guys? That guy with a pencil here from Fat Newman to have it on me and keep it on me at all times. So, fun fact. Oh, sweet mother of mercy. Sensei, how do you just keep making them better and better and better and better? Fujimine desu ka? I got 15 minutes to tell you my thoughts on the character, their integration, how they work in the narrative, how they don't, everything. So let's start the timer right now and get into it. Osamu Nishi-sensei in Fujimine has just introduced their best antagonist so far. And you'd be like, whoa, 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 whoa. Pencil man? I know you opened up saying there's going to be excessive glaze, but isn't that a little bit crazy? This character is not even like 15 chapters old yet. And I know. And they're already that good. Now, real quick, I have my misgivings about the Ichi the Witch antagonist cast as like antagonists. But it feels like Fujimine, in a very similar case to the World Hater, is like Osamu Nishi-sensei turning their ear to my soul and being like, so he doesn't like one arc antagonist or barely two arc antagonists who appear and only immediately get captured by our main cast. That's why he started to glaze the World Hater once I gave him a little bit of a power scaling amp. So, what can I do to make this more intriguing? Oh, he likes the idea that the world is full of all types of people, all types of witches even, including possibly evil ones, who could have entire magic arsenals of their own. How intriguing. Oh, he would like a character that directly parallels our main antagonist that also isn't a magic, who literally cannot appear too early in the narrative, for their very nature is one of pure destruction that our main character cannot yet encounter. How intriguing. It could be possible that he wants to understand the deeper depths of the Mansion Witches Association, the magical world itself, and everything that the world has to offer. How intriguing. Now allow me, the mighty and all-knowing Osamu Nishi-sensei, to wiggle my fingers and tickle my toes, and create the perfect character that literally embodies all the things I wanted from Ichi the Witch, from its mere existence and concept as a thing. Yeah. Is this excessive? Am I doing tricks on right? Yeah. Because that's what Fujimine is. Now, let me get the one negative of Fujimine right out the way, right here at the start. They suffer from Ichi the Witch antagonist syndrome, where they lose way more than they gain via their actions. Unfortunately, Fujimine did sort of sell the bag. You know? Amaduro, the witch with some of the most destructive capacity in the association, has been exposed to her brainwashing. And now we know if you're exposed to her brainwashing once, oh, that's kind of GG. She can't really hit you with it again. Your body builds up an immunity to it, toxins, and it's probably assumed that Tukapucho can probably put some sort of defense into you after that exposure. Now that she's already been exposed, now that everybody already knows that she's here, might as well just pre-prep a whole bunch of people. So even hypothetical characters like Togeist may have some pre-prep built into them, so they can't get taken over either, this, that, and the third. Though admittedly, that's a possibility for the future, and I'd be down with, considering we see Togeist in Fujimine's introductory arc, but we don't, we'll get to that in a second. We've seen Togeist in the introductory arc, but she wasn't actually here to directly interact with Fujimine or anything. So there's that. But her losing all of that leverage is really, really rough. I wish, and who knows, maybe it can just be retconned later that you don't actually develop a full genuine immunity. Maybe Fujimine can like reinforce the Toxiterra magic and its abilities in order to make sure that she can still mind control somebody, so we can still have some more interesting conflict there. But yeah, I don't necessarily like how Fujimine wasted her resources for basically no gain. Sure, she may have she may have almost destroyed the association, but realistically, she did some property damage. She didn't actually achieve all too much. However, that one negative point aside, everything else about Fujimine works. Now, considering I am a pencil guy, let me talk a little bit about Fujimine's character design and why it works so well for me. And in fact, let's go all the way up to her proper character design, her color character design. Note how Fujimine is specifically designed. Blue eyes, long black hair, sharp claw-like fingers, a simple monochrome pattern across her dress, black and white. Very simple, very refined in many cases, yet also very exposed, open, consuming, even with the very sharp fangs themselves. Now, I said something earlier, that ultimately Fujimine is a direct opposite parallel to somebody. And of course that parallel is my son, my baby boy, Ichi himself. Note how Ichi's design is very covered, very closed, from the nearly full-fingered gloves, but also clearly fingerless gloves, to the full dress down that he has, where his entire sleeves and body is covered, to his shorter hair, to his notably bright crimson eyes. Everything about these two is opposites. And also, Ichi is a young male, which Fujimine is implied to be old. Like, old. Like, multiple generations of Manga keepers, and generations are like 20 to 30 years old. AKA, she's probably like 100. Like, low-key lowballing it, considering where she is relative to Tricapucho, and Tricapucho, a certain thing happened with Tricapucho when they were very young. Like, this Tricapucho at most is like maybe 30s? And that is probably highballing. I highly doubt a 30-year-old would sign a mentor pupil blood contract. But still, they look like this, and Fujimina looks the same all these years later. They are an aberration in many senses, completely disregarding the lives of others, completely disregarding people's autonomy, completely vanquishing their memories, all for her own gain. Meanwhile, Ichi himself is someone who cherishes people's individuality, who cherishes life in their existences, who cherishes everything that they are, and very specifically, every single bond Ichi has built is genuine and properly connected. Meanwhile, a lot of Fujimina's bonds, especially through her mind control, are forged artificially. They're false, they're fake, they're wrong. These two, our major antagonist and our main character, are perfectly, I'm talking perfectly, diametrically opposed from design to character to motivation to interaction, but it is in that contrast that they meet in equilibrium of sorts. The idea that upon seeing Ichi's base nature, right, seeing that Ichi, even while under the illusion, the idea that Fujimine and Ichi were the closest, deepest of bonds and friends, that Ichi, on the sheer concept of a close friend trying to immediately take his dome off, he goes for what, for all intents and purposes, this is a kill shot. If this was, presumably, anybody else other than Fujimine, as a human, they'd probably be dead and or dying, right? Ichi did get her directly around here. Not directly in the jugular or anything, but that's some serious, darn near lethal damage. So, of course, Fujimine sees that fundamental, almost subconscious disregard for life once it threatens one's own. And obviously, Fujimine also has a disregard for life. And because of that, she, in many ways, is not cut out to be human. A character like Descaros, who in many ways is not human in her own right, questions the humanity of Fujimine, asking, and you call yourself human? Both our main character and this major antagonist stand in these inhuman worlds and ways, specifically due to their regards and reactions to life based on subconscious and conscious actualization. Ichi is someone who will disregard life of all kinds on the subconscious level. If you radiate bloodlust towards him, he shall respond in kind. Fujimine reacts in the conscious, in the knowing. All of her actions that overwrite or disregard human life are specifically conscious. They're active. There's no subconscious will driving her forward. It is the idea of the active mind versus the passive mind, and that Fujimine is so deep into the active that there's nothing anyone can do to drag her back from it, while Ichi is so relatively steeped in the subconscious mind that even in subtle, calmer times, he cannot help but react in specific ways. Everything about these two is parallel, and once again, from the ages to their designs to their everything, and that's really, really good for an antagonist of Fujimine's ilk. Very specifically, the idea that Fujimine, even if she accomplished a net negative for herself specifically, like that was kind of just hell. she sets herself up perfectly as a longer term antagonist. If I had to give her a direct comparison, I love that's kind of hard though. Because usually, like, at least in the way that I'm predicting Fujimina to make it, I saw a lot of people say she's probably going out in the mid story. I feel like she's gonna be a late game antag, bro. In that case, man, there are very few that make it that long. And thusly, I can't think of a direct example off the top of my head, and that's just me fumbling. I should know something. But because of the way Fujimine is narratively incorporated in how she parallels Ichi, specifically with the idea of her being the other side, her one way she opposes Ichi again being the mentor in the mentor-pupil blood contract. Very, very intriguing. Very, very good. And of course, I've been glazing Fujimine a lot as like a individual character in the universe and how she parallels specifically another direct character in the universe. But obviously, Fujimine also just works on a world building level. Her very existence raises like 50 million different questions. Obviously, the most core part of that existence, how does she still look like this all these years later? Presumably, it's some form of, presumably it is some form of magic, but how? How did she obtain it? Where did she get it from? How is she able to maintain this longevity? And once again, this healing factor also seems relatively inhuman. If anything, it seems much more like a magic who we've seen recover from a variety of different ailments and effects. And of course, the most interesting piece is her tie to our main antagonist, the World Hater. How did these two meet? How did these two align? Why does the World Hater even acknowledge their ability and allow and work with them? Even saving them from a scenario that ultimately would have ended badly, considering so many powerful people were there and Fujimine could not run the 1v50. It's so intriguing. It's a very good balance between, hey, this character has an existence within this world, how does that affect the rest of the world around them? And hey, this character has very fundamental questions about how this world works. And because of their direct parallels to specific characters in the narrative, she parallels Deskros being the mentor people blood contract. She parallels Ichi in being like the direct opposite of Ichi. But how in the world is she going to parallel and bounce off her main antagonist, as she's presumably the subordinate to the World Hater? I don't know, but it is very, very intriguing. And that's the main thing I'd use, the main word I'd use to describe Fujimine. Intriguing. I said at the start of the video that Osamu Nishi-sensei put their ear up to my soul and listened very closely and dove into the story itself and pulled out everything that I found super duper interesting and slammed it into one character. And as I've mentioned many times before, the main thing I love about Ichi the Witch is specifically how broad the world is, and how each new character and each new major character, even some minor characters getting introduced, raises questions about how the world functions and how some of their very existences answer said questions, yet other pieces of their existence raise many, many more. And Fujimine is the character who has raised the most questions for me so far. More than any of the Magics who have this strange idea of design and purposes fundamentally built into them. More than any of the Magics we met along the way that have had different personalities and reasons and motives behind what they do, whether it be for glaze of the World Hater or having nothing to do with them at all. Fujimine is an antagonist that stands in such an interesting position, for they are simultaneously so deeply intertwined with our main cast and crew, and specifically our main character, yet so far detached from them that they are able to do so many more things for the world itself, its structure, its build, everything that goes into defining the Ichi the Witch world is all in Fujimine, and does raise interesting questions for the future of certain characters, especially Deskros. I haven't talked about their dynamic all too much, because mainly they just fight upon first introduction, but very specifically with the idea of Deskros as sort of a living containment seal for multiple extremely powerful, extremely dangerous, extremely monstrous Magics. Should she seek some sort of longevity? Some sort of immortality? Should she go on to exist in a particular way akin to Fujimine? Or is this the wrong path? But in taking that wrong path, would Descaros be abandoning things and leaving certain things behind for the world to handle in a way that they couldn't? The unknown, the excitement of it all, has me very, very intrigued with Fujimine. And how on earth they're going to continue to function within this narrative as someone who stands so diametrically opposed to everything that the narrative is about, while being deeply tied into its themes and its characters. So, shock horror. Osamu Nishi Sensei King Cook. But I'm out of time. So if you made a look at this video, please leave what a witch. What a witch in the comment section down below. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you guys have a wonderful day. This is That Guy with a Pencil, writing off.